Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing today? My name is Sydney. I'm the head of development here at Fuse, the TV network. And today I'll be quickly going over how to pitch a TV show. First of all, though, welcome everybody to the 4th annual Grid Summit. And don't forget to follow the Grid at the Grid Summit on Instagram to learn more about future events and classes. So today, teaching a show how to pitch a TV show. So there's many different ways of doing this, but what you're going to learn today is what I found is the most effective, and when it comes to getting your ideas onto paper and then pitching that into a room. But before I go further, I wanted to talk to you guys about a show. So the world is warming and people are looking for ways to live differently when it comes to consuming. So everything from electric cars to plastic straws to composting, every day new things are being created to make this world a bit more sustainable. So because of this natural phenomenon, with the help of the pandemic and social media, the world of upcycling has been bigger than ever. Upcycling, if you don't know what that is when you take an old item and then turn it into practical or usable later on. So this can range from upcycling clothing to making new furniture and beyond. So for example, in these pictures you see here, it's from a viral upcycler. Her name is Nicole McLaughlin, and she is known for making just dope clothing out of just the most random things you could find at your house. So you can see there, she made a shoe out of a volleyball. She took some old Haribo candies and made those into shorts. But be sure to check out her stuff, but she's really leading the way in terms of the world of upcycling. And then so with all that said, upcycling has become this cultural phenomenon, especially on things like TikTok and YouTube. People from all over the world are hopping on this new lifestyle and are finding ways of saving money in the world at the same time. Companies like Levi's, Starbucks, Nike all have pledged and acted in different ways towards a more sustainable future, especially when it comes to their products. And also even cities and buildings and architecture are becoming upcycled. Like in this example here, this skyscraper in Australia was all built using old materials. And I think that will be the future of architecture moving forward. So with all of that said, I want to pitch you the show Upcycle Nation. So Upcycle Nation is a studio competition series hosted in Los Angeles where 3 contestants are given random items and they have to upcycle them into new, original, fashionable clothing. The clock is ticking, and by the end of the challenge, they'll be judged by celebrity judges that will pick apart their creations. The winner will be picked at the end and awarded a grand prize, and then picked at this week's Upcycle Nation. So think Chopped meets clothing or upcycling. In this show, we can feature the best of the best in the fashion upcycling world, like Nicole McLaughlin, like I mentioned earlier, a guy named Utopia Bai Cho, who is an old accountant, who is also who turned into an upcycler. But yeah, they can be our celebrity judges and expert judges, and they'll give their insights on everything that is being made, along with giving some important tidbits and advice to our lucky contestants. So because all the things I mentioned before, this show, Upcycle Nation, comes right at the right time in a way that everyone can enjoy. So you don't have to be a fashion stylist or sewing master to want to save the world. I think Upcycle Nation is a perfect series to get made, and it comes with a very valuable message for everyone to get behind. So that is Upcycle Nation, and thank you for listening. So that is actually a pitch that I made in November 2021 to Fuse, actually. And it actually became a real show. This is the final artwork that you see here. And the final show kind of turned a little bit differently from what we pitched initially. But the pitch went well in the room. They decided that it was a timely topic, and it was a show that everyone needed and the world needed. So we went forward, we shot that show, and then a year later became a reality. So that is how I pitched Upcycle Nation. But before I go even further, you probably want to know what Fuse is. So Fuse is a TV network, but a little bit more about me. My name's Sydney. Like I said, I'm the head of development at Fuse. Here are just a few examples and brands and companies that I've worked for and done work with. I've done everything from music videos to commercials to full-fledged documentaries to now developing TV shows. But yeah, it's just been fun and great, exciting. But I tell you all this because all of these experiences contribute to my development process and my pitching process as well. So Fuse, we are a TV network. We're Latino-owned and multiculturally focused. And we want to bring, authentic stories from around the world that represents and celebrates and empowers the youth around the world. Our vision is to empower underrepresented young adults, and our values are we are culture forward, passionate advocates, and all in with a community of unity. So everything that we make or create has some underlying theme of empowering the youth or empowering people to follow their passions or their dreams. So a lot of these, values that we have for Fuse, we put into our shows and we put into our pitches as well. But some of our examples of our show, as you see on the top left, it's called We Need to Talk About America. And that's a cast of comedians that look back on all things Americana from the first generation American perspective. Another show we have is Made from Scratch. That's a food show where behind the scenes, you get a look at your favorite celebrity as they're making their favorite home dish with their favorite person. Another show is Shine True. That's a docu-series that explores the world of gender expression because it's a very challenging world nowadays, especially for non-binary young adults. So in each episode, mentors and role models help non-binary or trans people explore their inner identity and passions. And another side of things, we like to do everything in the entrepreneurial space. So we have a show called T-Pain School of Business. And that is a show where we follow T-Pain, and his mission is to explore the world of side gigs and the hustle and what it takes to become a truly successful entrepreneur and all that it goes into it. So T-Pain meets with different business owners and his friends to really just get the advice and the 101 of how to make a business. So before you even can hop into the room, you kind of have to understand how to develop a show. So developing a show, it can come in many, many different ways. It kind of breaks down into two ways, however. One is research. So obviously, there are many tools out there and many metrics that you can follow along to see what people want to watch. So for example, one of our shows, Sex Sells, that I mentioned earlier, that is a show where it's a docuseries that follows our host Wheezy, and she meets with different people or businesses in the world of sex and learns about the entrepreneurial and business side of things. That was one of our most successful shows. People just tuned in and loved seeing like the inner workings of a business in the sex world, and they wanted to understand. They wanted to see more of Wheezy as well. So we took all of those things that we saw. We saw this show was doing well. Wheezy has an amazing following. The ratings are great. So we decided, hey, we should develop another show. So we developed and pitched another show called Lovers Exposed. And in this show, it's a little different, where Wheezy is on a mission to find out about all things new relationships. So when it comes to polygamy or couples that live together or live apart, or age gaps between people, the world of love and the world of relationships and changing. So that show is what we're going to do. And that was just kind of based off all of just our readings and metrics and ratings that we got. On the flip side of things, sometimes ideas can come out of nowhere. So for example, in one of my older jobs that I had, I created a show called Arts and Raps. And if you're not familiar with Arts and Raps is basically two kids, and they interview a rapper, and they do arts and crafts while they're doing that. And how that show came to be is 2 days prior to shooting that first episode, my manager at the time was basically saying, we have two rappers coming in. We need to think of an internet show. What can we do? So I was looking around the room, and I looked to my right, my friend Kev on stage. He had actually two kids that he brought all the time to the office. And then my previous experience as a teacher found out, like, what are some things kids like to do all the time? And that's arts and crafts. So we basically just threw that all together, picked up some random, props and set decoration, threw an entire set together, and then shot that show the next 2 days. And then after that shoot, we continued to shoot that show for another, I believe, 7 years, and that show is still going on. So sometimes the best of ideas just come out of nowhere, but there's many different ways you can put it onto paper. Here at Fuse, to kind of, as we develop and to kind of give us some guidelines, we have a thing called a content filter, and every company that you pitch to, every agency or any room, they'll have some kind of similar setup like this, or some kind of filter where it shows how things are decided, what is good for the network or what is not. So for example, in this filter we have here, Fuse goes by 4 separate verticals: creative self-expressors, passionpreneurs, progress champions, and growth hackers. So each of those things kind of represent a different ideal or value that we want to put into the series that we have. So for example, creative self-expressors, that people express their identity through creative outlets. Passionpreneurs is people finding achievement by embracing their own passions. Progress champions are people driving conversation about society and culture through proactive, inspiring leadership and action. And growth hackers is a vertical where people are showing us how and motivating is to be better ourselves through personal exploration, interpersonal connectivity, relationships, sexual and mental health, and targeting life goals. So basically, people are things that are trying to just make themselves better. So Sex Sells, for example, falls into growth hackers. Wheezy is on her mission to try to really understand the world of entrepreneurship behind the world of sex and relationships. Creative self-expressors, Upcycle Nation falls into that perfectly, because each of those contestants show themselves shows their creativity in their own kind of way. So every person that you pitch to, every company that you pitch to, your job is to find out what these filters are. How do people decide what goes on the TV screen? So development is an ongoing process. It never stops. So I kind of put that down into this simple graph. So as soon as an idea is created, is developed, you got to figure out the cast, the location, the people that'll be in it, the crew that'll be working on it. And as soon as you figure that out, that immediately goes into production. But as soon as that happens, there's this constant loop that is always happening. After you produce the thing, you want to see how you can make it better. And once you make it better, you want to figure out how to make it better. And then so on and so on. So from season 1 to 2 to 3, you'll be going through this process of how to make things better, for the viewers, taking on all the things that you've seen from your previous seasons. So remember, like when you're creating these ideas too, the ideas should always have room to grow and scale. So, simple as if you think of a show that takes place in LA, season 2, 3, 4, could that show take place internationally? Can it take place in other countries? So the sky's the limit. So act accordingly when you're developing. So now down to like the nitty gritty. How do you pitch a TV show? So basically, there are 4 questions that you have to answer every single time you are pitching a show. And it's very simple, however. The most important part of what you're pitching is why, and I'll get that into a second. So the questions you have to answer is who is hosting the show, or who are we featuring? Who are we talking about? Who do you want to have in the show? What is the subject matter? What is the mission we're trying to capture? What is the message we're trying to give? What is it going to look like? Where is this all taking place? And then finally, like I said, the most important is why. Why is there a need for this show? Why does the audience need to watch this show, or why does the audience care? Far too often when you're pitching a show, and I fell into this many times, is As soon as they would ask why, my immediate question back or answer back would be, why not? And when you're pitching a show, that is never the answer. You have to almost not dumb it down, but you have to figure out a way where everyone in that room understands your vision. And sometimes you may have to sacrifice a little bit of that vision, or a little bit of what you're pitching to make people really understand the show that you really want to get made. But the most important, like I said, is why. So in my previous pitch earlier in this presentation, I pitched you guys the show Upcycle Nation. So I talked about some of the different casts that can be included, the different contestants, and all the contestants will come from the US. The what is, it's a competition series where 3 contestants are given random items to upcycle into original fashionable pieces. And this all takes place in the studio in Los Angeles. But the why was the most important, and the why was the most I spoke about during that pitch. And it's the idea is that the world is looking to become more sustainable. That idea alone was, and seeing that idea flourish in the world of TikTok and social media and seeing all these different communities was a major reason why this show got greenlit. We saw that there was an audience, we saw that there was a community, and it was a community that we wanted to cultivate and flourish even more, and really want to capture that essence of sustainability and like the trying to make a world a better place. And the idea of and we could have easily made just a documentary about that, or a docu-series where we followed along different people and seeing their upcycling methods. However, we wanted to make it a little bit more enjoyable. Everyone knows reality competition series. Everyone understands, the things you need from it, the stories, the contestants, why they win. But, no matter what the subject matter is, it could be baking, it could be figuring out whether a cake is real or not. Everyone understands reality competitions and the stakes that come with it. So if we attach Upcycle Nation or upcycling to a reality competition show, you don't even have to be familiar with upcycling. You already understand the idea of it's a competition and they have to create something. And that's why it was pitched in the form of a reality competition show. It's a digestible format that everyone can understand. So when you are going into a room, however, there are 4 things that I really try to incorporate every time I go into pitch, and you guys should as well. So the one is read the room. And this is one of the most important pieces, is to really know who you are pitching to. Every room is different. Everyone comes from different places. Everyone has different tastes. Everyone has different likes. You have to understand who you're going in with. So that means researching the company you're meeting with, researching the people that'll be in the room, going to their LinkedIns, going to their Instagrams, finding about their likes, their interests, finding about their past experiences or other shows that they worked on or greenlit. Knowing all of that information will definitely help you make sure you're hitting key notes or key words or buzzwords that you will know will spark these guys' ears and eyes. The next is be confident in your idea. If you're not, they won't be. Any sense of doubt in your pitch will stick out like a sore thumb. You can have said 10 amazing things and amazing points about this show, but as soon as there's one item that you're maybe wonky about, that's the only thing that they're going to focus on. So make sure that you're confident in your idea and you present it as such. Another important part is relax and have fun. This is a part that I feel like a lot of people forget when it comes to development. Development and ideation, you're brainstorming. You're using the extent of your imagination. You are using everything that you have up there. And that should be fun. Everything should be kept fun. You're not curing cancer. You're not doing anything crazy. You're not going to war. You're really just trying to get your vision to become a reality. But if it's as soon as you don't relax and as soon as you don't have fun, it just becomes a job. And no job when it comes to creative ideation It should not feel like a 9 to 5 whatsoever. And then finally, FOMO, which is also fear of missing out. As you're presenting in the room, you have to give the room the feeling that they will miss out from this pitch or this opportunity if they don't give the green light. You have to present it that if they're not going to take this idea, someone else will. And the more that you can kind of present it in that way, the better the better chance you have of taking this thing further into development, hopefully production. So any of these tips that I've given you, or any of these outlines that I've given you, remember, a lot of these things can apply to almost anything that you're pitching. So whether it's a music video treatment or a business plan you're trying to get a loan from, you have to make sure you just apply a lot of these things that you learn and just on paper and just get organized, and the sky's the limit. Before I go any further, were there any questions or anything like that you guys want to hop out with? Cool. So we do make documentaries. We are not in the scripted TV world yet. Fuse, we do everything from unscripted reality TV shows, documentaries, digital series as well. But movies, scripted movies, is something that we're looking forward to do. And developing scripted series and scripted projects is a very different process as well, which takes even longer, sometimes years. But in terms of like the methods of the pitch and all the points that I discussed, it's all the same in that respect. Do you like what you do? I love what I do. I wouldn't be doing it if I didn't. It takes some time to really understand the world of TV and the language and how many people or how many different people you have to speak with. Just learning the language and the vernacular and the vocabulary and just trying to change your delivery. That's been kind of like the interesting part of this job. But like I said, for me, ideating, brainstorming is the funnest thing to me. And no idea is bad here. So, I just try to find the joy and, just making things become a reality. How many times have you did this in terms of pitching a show? So I've actually worked, so at Fuse, I've been here for over a year. But in terms of our process, just so you guys know, at Fuse, we have what these things are called greenlight meetings, and we have 4 of those every year. And most TV networks have a similar process. But in those greenlight meetings, I sit in a room with all the executives, and I have about 5 to 6 different ideas every time. And they're all kind of different, from food shows to competition shows to dating shows or relationship shows. But yeah, it's a very grueling process. So it takes about a few months for every idea to, really find the story and really find the people and really find the cast to make it a reality. But yeah, it's been very exciting. The favorite part of the stuff that I do, my favorite part is the brainstorming sessions, or what we call whiteboarding sessions. So me and my team, what we'll do, I have a producer and a coordinator, and basically what we do is we sit in a room and we have a prompt, and we basically spitball ideas, spitball different shows, and spitball different talent or celebrities that we want to work with. But it's basically just scribbling your imagination down. And that, to me, that's just so fun. And I don't know any other jobs where you have that opportunity, where you can just kind of just think as much as you want, creatively as you want, and just throw it against the wall. And I'll take one more question. All right. Can you not have the patience and do the same stuff you do? Patience is key. especially when you are working in the world of TV. So like I said before, Upcycle Nation, I pitched that in November 2021. The pitch took about 3 hours. I found out maybe a few weeks after that, it got officially greenlit. And then 12 months later, it finally aired. So you have to imagine that in that 12 months, I was the most antsy person in the world. I just wanted to see this happen. But just the way TV works and the way development and the pre-production works is casting and locations and all of that, it takes time. So that is the one thing you have to understand is a lot of your ideas, may take some time to, to get on the screen. However, though, the payoff is amazing. I came from the world of digital content, so I worked with a lot of companies like internet companies like Awesomeness TV or All Def Digital, and at those places like that, when it comes to developing and producing, and producing is really quick. I'll think of an idea today. Tomorrow I shoot it. The next day it's out. So I was used to that kind of timeline, and I'm sure a lot of you guys are used to the same. But when it comes to developing these ideas out and pitching these ideas, it takes a lot more preparation and research, but beyond just, hey, I got this great idea and let's do it. Any other questions? Okay. So what I wanted to do actually then now is I wanted to create a TV show pitch with you guys. So with that said, give me 1 second. All right. So with that said, I'm just going to throw out some things and I want everyone to participate. You don't have to just, spitball into the chat. And, I'll just pick out the best things I think will work. But the prompt is a food series. And what I want to create is a unscripted food series. So first, let's figure out what it is. Let's figure out what this food show could be. Is it a competition show? Is it a docu? Let's say it's a competition show. What kind of competition show should we make for a food show? So can someone just throw out some ideas? For this, no, it cannot be animated. It needs to be an unscripted show. Okay, I like it. Kids versus adults. I like that. So that could be our who. Kids versus adults. Kids, adults. All right. Okay, let's say kids and adults have to make a struggle meal or struggle food. And then let's just say this is a studio show. And then it takes place in, let's say, California. All right. All right. So let's try this, guys. All right. So we'll create a food series with kids and adults. And we'll have well, how about this? We have a parent plus their child versus a parent plus another child. And they're facing off and they have to create their kid's favorite struggle meal. So let's say, or let's call it a struggle meal. Let's call it snacks and food. Kid snacks and food. And let's say they have to make the competition is between the parent and the kids, and between the pairs they have to create the best snack, or the food, could be like who can make the best macaroni and cheese between the two, or the best sandwich, or the best pizza. And this will be a studio show in California. Let's talk about the why, though. Let's talk about the why. Can when you think of this show and you're pitching this show to a room, and it's parents and kids versus parents and kids, and they're making shows about or making food for kids snacks. Why is it a show that we need? Why is it something that it's? If I was a network, I would make it and put it onto my screens. So trying to find out who is better, that is true. But when you're pitching that in the room, it needs to be a little bit more than that. Every competition show, we're always trying to find out who's better. But in the bigger picture, what are we really trying to sell? So in Upcycle Nation, obviously we're trying to see who's the best upcycler. But that's not enough. We're trying to see who's the best upcycler because we're trying to save the world. We're trying to make the world more sustainable. And these guys, they're even though we're trying to figure out who's the best one, they're still upcycling and being sustainable and living sustainable lifestyles. So what is the why for this show? Because it teaches kids necessary skills. That's true. To show what food kids like, that's absolutely true as well. So I think what would be the best is when you just think about it when you're at school, when you're talking with your friends, right? And just say the topic of whose mom makes the best peanut butter and jelly sandwich, or whose mom makes the best, I don't know, spaghetti. Let's say that. There's always that argument. No, my mom is making the best spaghetti. No, that's trash, man. My mom makes the best tomato sauce in the west side of Mississippi. You have no idea. So kids are always having that competition. Kids are always saying, my parents are the best. My parents are the best. So maybe we create a TV show where we put them to the test whether their parent is the best. So let's see. Kids are always championing their parents as the best whatever. Best cook, best athlete, best anything. This show will test, will test whether that is true or not. So the reason I like this show already, great, Javier. So the reason why, it can't just be, who's the better cook, or it can't just come from that. It needs to come from kind of experience or relatable experiences everyone has. So, as a kid, you're always saying your parents are the best. All right, let's create a show where who's the best parent? My dad is better than your dad, or your mom is better than my mom. Maybe it's a competition show. Maybe it's not just food. Maybe it's sports. Maybe it's a whole group of things. So this show actually can come much bigger than food as well. So finally, one of my favorite parts as well when developing a show is the title. So when you think of a title, this is a very important part too, because that title is going to be the thing they remember the most. And sometimes a title greenlights a show by itself. Arts and Raps, for example, that title alone really excited a lot of my superiors at the time, and they're like, that show alone and the concept, the name, it's so cute, let's do it. So we ran with it. So for this show, knowing that it's parent versus kid, or parent versus parent, or family versus family, what would we call this show? Mommy Knows Best is a good name. Kanye West Family Show, I don't think that will fly well in the room, but nice try. Let's see, just throw out some names for the show, and I'll just generation versus generation. That's close. So when we think of a title, always think of it the way, in the sense that as soon as you hear the title, you know what the show is right away. So for example, Arts and Wraps. You'll get a rapper and maybe do some arts and crafts. Upcycle Nation, you hear upcycle in the name right away. So what is a show like this? Our parent versus parent show, what could it be? And something that's very catchy. Old people versus kids. No, it's kind of like family versus family. So what does that could look like? Like Family Feud is already a show name that's taken, but it's something along those lines. Generation Food, that could be good. What are some other ones? Parents at Risk. That's a good one. Family Food. Kids Kitchen. Let's try to throw a word in there that's something that's sounds a little competitive, so when you hear like a show like Hell's Kitchen, it seems very, you kind of hear the show, it's a kitchen show or it's a food show, but it seems really intense because of the word hell, so what is something like that? Heaven's Kitchen. Family Food Fight, that's actually pretty good. Family Food Fight is good. Family Showdown is great. Like when you hear Family Showdown, you kind of already hear the show. So family, it's going to be a family show. You're going to deal with some families and it's a showdown. There's some kind of competition. So I think Family Showdown right now is the front runner. Who said that? Who said Family Showdown? Santiago, great job. So Family Showdown. So guys, we have our who, what, where, why, and even the title. So if I were to pitch this back to you guys, let's just do this exercise. So I'm going to pretend you guys are the Fuse executives, and I'm going to pitch you guys this show that we just created, and all of you guys are executive producers on this show. So let me put my pitching mode on. All right. So hello, everybody. So today I'm going to show you guys a new show that you guys have to consider. We live in a world where kids are super competitive, families are uber competitive more than ever, and we want to create a show or competition show where we highlight and capture that essence. We want to see whose family is considered the best. So this show is called Family Showdown, and this Family Showdown is a studio show that takes place in California, where we get two groups, a parent and a kid each, and we give them simple tasks, and they have to face off and create the best food snack or the best food dish imaginable. They'll be judged by celebrity judges, other parents, other kids, and finally we'll figure out who's the winner and who's the best parent or who's the best family. We're capturing this moment that we witness all the time with our own conversations and our own experiences. So in this show, Family Showdown, we really want to capture the essence of family, camaraderie, but also having a lot of fun with it. Thank you for the clap. All right. So with that all said, even with that quick exercise that we just did, we just created a fun little show. And it had all the pieces that we needed, to really make it sing in the room or really make it ring in the room. So like I said, anything that you do, anything that you're pitching, anything that you're putting together, you should be able to answer all of these questions: who, what, where, and why. And I know it's simple, but as long as you keep those things in mind, especially the part of why, everyone will understand your pitch for sure. Any other questions? Any questions about my other work or anything about shows or show ideas you might have?
What are some of the, sorry, we came in just a little late. What are some of the other shows that you've worked on?
Other shows that I've worked on. So I'll go back to this slide. So I worked on We Need to Talk About America, Sex Sells as well, Made from Scratch. Other shows I worked on is Arts and Raps. I've done pieces for Vogue, Spotify, Apple. So yeah, my experience kind of goes across the board from digital to TV linear.
Thank you very much. My class really enjoyed this.
Absolutely, guys. Remember, have fun with it, and remember, your mind is full of ideas. And the hardest part is getting that onto paper. And the easiest way to get that onto paper is to break it down, like I said, into these 4 things: who, what, where, and why. And as long as you can do that, and you can put and fill that out, everything kind of falls into place after that. Yes, Kai, I did work at 88 Rising. I did a few projects with them. It was very fun. What do I like to watch when I'm not working? So I like to watch almost a little everything. And what I'm hooked on is a show called Physical 100 on Netflix. I'm not sure if anyone's watched that yet, but you should check it out.
We have a question from one of my students. He asks, does working on a show ruin the experience for you?
That's actually a great question. Yes and no. So for me, the fun side of it is I'm behind the scenes. I get to see everything that happens. I get to see it's the true process and everything that goes behind of creating the show, and I get to meet the talent. On the flip side of things, though, and just like everything you guys know, not everything on TV or what you see on screen is real. So sometimes you are kind of presented with, this wasn't the show I always thought it was, or this isn't the talent I always thought he or she was. So it kind of goes both ways. But for me, I love being behind the scenes. I love seeing an idea, a seed become a plant. I love to see an idea become a full feature or a full TV show. And so seeing that process all the way through, especially being able to fortunately be able to be on the side of the ideation or the developing side of things from the very beginning, and to kind of see that process all the way to the end is probably one of the most fulfilling things you'll ever feel, for sure. And I did say Physical 100 on Netflix. Great show. When did I first start pitching shows? So I've been in, I would say, the content game for about 15 years. And I started pitching as soon as I was able to. So, when it comes to music videos, there's, you always have to try to get money or try to get some help. And then, so you have to kind of create these pitch materials or, speeches or meetings. So I started very early, but, I wasn't very good at it. But over time and kind of seeing that, you have to understand who you're speaking to and how you're speaking with them, and just kind of changing your delivery over time. It just gets better and better. So it's been just a wild ride for me. Is my job fun? Yes, it's very fun. Very, very fun. It's a lot of work like everything else. But just if you like seeing things from A to Z, and if you like Legos and you like seeing the instructions and like putting it together and seeing the final product, you'll love working in production and development. What's your do you like old TV shows or new stuff? I love everything. I think TV shows are just they're becoming a little bit more interesting, but they're also speaking to a lot more people. Before, back in the day, old TV shows, it only spoke to a certain amount of people or certain groups. But now you're having TV shows that speak to many different niche groups and many different communities. So if you thought back in the day, sometimes there wasn't shows that I could really relate to, but now turning on TV, turning on Netflix or Hulu, I can find thousands or hundreds of things that I can really relate to and have fun with. So I think now new TV shows now in the world of TV we live in now is very interesting. I'll take a few more questions. Was the cost for something so expensive for a show you had to click in some money for it to work, like an edit that needs like 3,000? So there are. So that's a great question, actually. So this is a interesting point on exactly knowing who you are pitching to. So sometimes you'll have an amazing idea, but that idea could be so big that the network or the TV channel or whoever you're pitching to may not even be able to, one, afford it, or it's even, possible in their realm. So you have to really tailor, your ideas and where you put them. So if you, for example, if you have a TV show and you're going to need, I don't know, Drake and Beyonce in that TV show, it's going to cost a lot of money. So you can't go to, a small network or a small YouTube channel, small TV channel to pitch that show, because it's not in their realm of possibility. So just really understanding where you want to take that idea is very important. Last couple questions. Any advice for students who want to get into acting? So this is my advice for you is back in the day, it was probably the entry to acting was probably a lot harder than it is now. And I say that because nowadays we have this. You can create any movie, any TV show you want just by doing this. You can practice your acting, you can make scenes, you can make monologues, whatever you want to do just by filming with your cell phone. So my advice is, if you want to start acting, just start acting, start making sketches, start filming yourself. The most important thing is being comfortable seeing yourself on camera. So just as much as you can, just film, make some scripts, make some funny sketches, show your family, just practice, and post it. And then soon enough, someone will catch notice. But the idea is just shoot as much as possible, test as much as possible, and just have fun with it for sure. If I had a chance to pitch a Marvel movie, which movie would you pitch? That's a great question. That's a great question. I'm a huge Marvel fan. I would have to do something with the X-Men, obviously. What that movie is, maybe like a Wolverine movie, but something along like that. So great question. What is the success rate of your pitches? That is an absolutely great question. I would say, how about this? Of 10 ideas that I go into a room, I would say maybe 1 or 2 of them actually get greenlit, and maybe 1 or 2 of them actually become a reality. So, like I said, know the room that you're pitching to, obviously, because there's some shows that may not work with them at all. But sometimes, there's just ideas that you think that are amazing that just doesn't resonate at all, and that's not necessarily your fault. It could just be it just doesn't work for the network, or they just simply don't understand what you're talking about. Maybe another partner channel or TV network will understand. So I would say the success rate is maybe 10% or less. So understand that part. And that's where you kind of have to, the patience comes in as well, is, if you don't have a thick enough skin, or, the method of really just taking in feedback, constructive feedback, or just simply hearing the word no, that's something you'll kind of hear a lot. But persistence is key. Consistency is key. As long as you're just pumping out ideas and putting yourself into a method of just always constantly improving yourself and improving your ideas. If they say no to idea number 1, you have 99 other ideas to show them next. So never get discouraged on a no, and don't pride yourself too much on the success rate. Just have fun with the developing. How did I start in this career path? So I started originally as a producer director. So I was doing, mini music videos for my friends. This is around the time Instagram was really getting popular as well. YouTubing was getting really popular. So we were just making music videos. My friends were making sketches. So that's where, I kind of got my start. And then that's where I found my world of the digital content world. And that's where I was working with Awesomeness TV and All Def Digital, and really kind of making some really serious series from there. And then from there, I turned those series and try to make them bigger, try to turn some of those into TV shows. But yeah, most of my starting was just myself, just a producer director with my own camera, just getting out there and shooting, making friends and making connections. And that's how it started. I didn't start as a developer. I didn't start as, someone that worked in the office. I was just out and about, just shooting as much as possible. All right, last couple questions, guys, and then we are all done. So are people basically buying your ideas? Basically, yes. It kind of depends. Sometimes, so I work for Fuse Network. I'm the head of development here. So everything that I think of is for Fuse. But sometimes I'll take in pitches from other people. So sometimes there's producers that have this amazing idea and I'll meet with, they say, oh my God, this show will be great for Fuse. I would love to pitch it to you. So in that sense, you pitch it to me. If you greenlight it, we love it. We'll essentially kind of buy that idea from him or her, and it becomes a Fuse show. All right. Last question. What movie are you hoping you can pitch at sooner or later? I have a few ideas, but like the kind of the next step, for me is getting into the scripted movie world as well. I love making unscripted reality series and love working for Fuse. But there's a whole different process and a whole different world for scripted materials as well, or scripted movies and scripted TV shows. So that's a world that I would like to hop into even more as I go on. All right, guys, I think that was pretty much it. Unless you have any other questions, what I'll do is I will add my email account here at Fuse Media, and feel free. I'm an open door, so feel free to email me or ask me any questions. I look forward to hopefully meeting you guys. Hopefully some of you guys are pitching to me in a room. Maybe I'll be pitching to you guys. You never know. But like I said, be consistent. Just keep working, keep ideating, but most of all, just have fun, guys. Keep it fun, keep it entertaining, and don't lose sight of what you really want to do. And remember, who, what, where, why. For any pitch, it works, and especially the why. So if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But thank you guys for coming. I really appreciated your time. Hope to do this again. Hope to do this next year, and enjoy the rest of your time at Grid.